Well, thank you, Han, and good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for coming out, and I'm delighted to be here with my friend, Minister Bill Morneau, the Federal Minister of Finance, and as well with both my provincial and federal MPs who happen to be part of the speaking program today, Chrystia Freeland and Han Dong, and many other members of Parliament who I've had the opportunity to work with so much in the last 12 months to get so many things done or to get started on things we needed to get done. And of course, my colleague Josh Cole, the chair of the TTC. Good things happen when there is cooperation between all levels of government in this country. And there is perhaps no area where this cooperation and collaboration has been more evident than in keeping our residents moving through investments in transportation. Every day, Torontonians depend on various modes of transportation to get around a big, busy city and to get around the city quickly, safely, and reliably. And Toronto's mobility has a direct impact on the very economy that the Minister mentioned. That economy will be more vibrant, more dynamic, and will grow more successfully if people are able to move to job opportunities and businesses able to get their goods and services and people around. The TTC, as has been mentioned, moves 1.7 million rides on average every day, making it the busiest transit system in all of Canada. It carries residents to and from work, not just inside the city, but also commuters from neighbouring cities around the GTHA. It helps kids get to school. It helps newcomers experience all of the things that they came to Toronto to experience, including access to opportunity. And along with our roads and our sidewalks and our cycling networks and our signal systems, the TTC is a hugely essential part of our lives. And if we're going to offer real access to opportunity and combat inequality, which I view as being at the very top of the things that we in public office have to do, then continued investment in our transit systems and our transportation systems is a must. And that's what today's unprecedented partnership is all about. Together, we will make Toronto's transit system faster, stronger, safer, and more accessible through this funding announcement, and it will be made safer and faster and more accessible for every person in every part of the city. Ensemble, nous rendrons le service de transport en commun de Toronto plus rapide, plus fiable, plus sécuritaire et plus accessible pour tous, partout dans la ville. Over the next 2 years, in partnership with our federal government, Toronto will embark on an ambitious schedule of repair and renewal, enhancement and expansion. With our federal partners contributing up to $840 million for this work, the City of Toronto will match their contributions for each project 50-50. Together, with this preliminary list of projects alone, we'll be investing more than $700 million in state-of-good repair for the TTC, strengthening our subway lines, our streetcar and bus systems, and making sure we offer modern, efficient and reliable service. We'll be investing at least $62 million to improve accessibility through new escalators and elevators in TTC stations, including this very station right here. Purchase more Wheel-Trans vehicles to make it easier to get on and off buses across the city. This work, which is already underway, will make things easier for the elderly, for those in wheelchairs, and for those parents who have strollers. The idea that we can just assume it is okay for those with differing abilities or for the growing number of seniors to be effectively denied access to public transportation is an outdated, unacceptable view. These are people who want to work, who want to continue to be engaged in their community, and who deserve accelerated attention from their governments so that they have a fair chance to have that access sooner than later. Our federal government has also recognized that the transit system must be integrated with the other ways people move around this city. And I think it is very notable and commendable that this program today includes investments that we will make together in other modes of transportation moving people around the city. Bike lanes, pedestrian crossings, traffic signals, all of these elements work together. And that is why I want to thank our federal partners for including active transportation in their transit funding envelope. Through this partnership, Toronto and the federal government will invest an additional $83 million into our city's cycling network. We will add bike parking at 40 TTC stations and bike share at 50 stations. We will complete Eglinton Connect's streetscape and sill tracks, and we will extend the West Toronto Rail Path, among other projects. And this investment will also include an additional $12 million to improve pedestrian safety around TTC stations, including new block crossings, again part of our pedestrian safety, road safety program. Minister Morneau said, this is just the beginning of our city's partnership with the federal and provincial governments. The provincial government continues to make substantial investments in public transportation and other forms of infrastructure in the City of Toronto, and we will continue together to make investments in mobility and transportation going forward. The second phase of the federal government's infrastructure program will focus on the expansion of our transit network through new lines and new service. To make sure we are well positioned for this continued investment coming in the second phase, the City will be investing at least $80 million from Phase 1, from the announcements that are being made today, in the planning and design of major new transit lines, including Smart Track, including the Relief Line, including the Eglinton East and West LRTs and the Waterfront LRTs. There are investments being made to do some of that preliminary work that must be done to move forward with those transit lines, the funding for expansion for which will be provided for in the second phase. These new transit services will significantly ease the pressure on existing regional and local systems and introduce important new connections across the city through subway expansion, surface rail services and new rapid transit lines. For far too long, rapid transit planning has fallen behind. But today, we're in a position where we're able to plan confidently for the future and move forward with things that have been talked about for decades. I want to congratulate and thank the federal and provincial governments for signing this important agreement. And I want to particularly note the responsiveness of both Prime Minister Trudeau and Premier Wynne when I have been advocating on behalf of Toronto. We're not going to get everything done that we would want to get done on this file or on housing for that matter, but these are very significant steps forward for the City of Toronto in a number of respects. Today is all about moving to get things done. We're ending decades of inaction and debate and finger-pointing and forth, and together we're going to plan properly. We're going to plan and discuss these things openly and honestly. We're going to make sure every dollar is well spent, existing and new, and we're going to pay our share and get it done. That is why we are here. That is what the people elected us all to do. It was the same people who elected us all to get things done, and we're proceeding ahead to do that today. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup. Now, we will answer questions, and I think it was our wish, if we could, that we answer questions on all of this, the three of us first, and then if there's other matters you wish to ask me or other the elected officials here, then you're free to do that as well. We have to start somewhere, and this is a very solid start. For years, I think governments generally didn't do the repairs and the state of good repair stuff because, as the Prime Minister once said, it wasn't very sexy. Well, I think this stuff is much needed. I think people who look at it carefully and understand what we're going to be doing is repairing the trains so they're more reliable, repairing the tracks, getting new Wheel-Trans buses, getting elevators to help people with accessibility issues. These are very, very important things to having a properly functioning integrated transit system. And yes, there's more to do. There's always more to do. But this is a very solid start, and I appreciate the partnership of the other two governments in getting these things moved forward, and of the City Council in allocating our share of the funding to do these things where for years they were just postponed and put on a list.
Why is it a two-way split? Why isn't the province contributing to this announcement? You said a number of times it's federal and municipal. Where's the provincial money?
So I will say, first of all, so that people know on our behalf, that the province is not participating in these particular programs on a financial basis, but they are making foundational investments in like regional express rail that are extremely important in helping us with the purchase of streetcars and other kinds of transit vehicles. And I look forward in Phase 2, when we get into the even more serious big money of actually building the new transit lines, to have their continued enthusiastic participation. Han, do you wish to say a word?
I appreciate the question, but I also want to point out that the province has been investing heavily on public transit infrastructure. As I mentioned before, $160 billion in 12 years. Some of these projects are already underway. A lot of provincial investments are already invested into these projects. There's a commitment given by the provincial government. And also from the provincial gas tax, there's a portion that goes to municipalities. I think it's $300 million per year. On top of that, province increased its provincial municipal infrastructure fund from $100 million to $300 million per year. So that's $600 million predictable, dependable annual funding to municipalities. So on that front, and I think it's fair to say that we've been in this game a long time, starting a long time ago.
So while I have you there,
Okay.
I have another question for you. You can build all the transit you want in phase 2, but the problem is that Toronto, the TTC can't afford to operate it. There's still a massive operating gap. Does the funding formula for the TTC need to be changed since the province downloaded all operations on this?
I will
Can you just look over here?
I will leave this question to perhaps the Minister of Transportation has a better answer to that. But as a provincial, as a local Toronto MPP, I would say that the TTCC is very, very well used. And the province has been partnered up with TTC for a long time, providing funding for TTC. And we recognize the importance of getting people in and out of Toronto and within Toronto every day. So I think it's a fair observation that a TTC always needs more support. But I think the minister and Chair Cole has been working on this for a little while, and he'll probably have a better answer to you.
For the mayor, just a quick question. With that 15.9 million operations budget shortfall, how is money going? How much concern is that shortfall?
The shortfall is a different issue. The shortfall that we have at present, we're in the midst of the budget process now, and that is why I've asked the TTC management, as they're doing, and the board, to take a detailed line-by-line look at every opportunity they can possibly find. And I believe in my heart, in a big $1.7 billion organization, there are always opportunities to find better ways to do things, and they're hard at work right now trying to find what we've asked them to find. But the bottom line is this. These announcements today, this money coming from the federal government, is going to help us to get on with repairs that were part of the TTC's budget in all likelihood going forward. They were already things that were approved but just not funded. Now some of them are. Not all, but a good many that are going to allow us to address some of the very fundamental aspects of the maintenance and proper, reliable operation of the transit system, their money together with ours. The operational question and the question of some further funding coming to help the TTC to operate in the future is something we must discuss. It is absolutely not viable to have the system rely entirely on property taxpayers and on fare-paying customers. Fare-paying customers pay the highest share of the cost of operating the system of anybody in North America. They're doing their part. Property taxpayers are doing their part as well, and we're going to have further discussions as we go forward, whether it is directly to do with operating funding or other aspects of our financial relationship with the other governments to provide for the transit system that is so important to the economy, to the environment, to every aspect of life in the biggest city in the country. This is the biggest city in the country. It is the economic engine. It is Canada's global metropolis. And if we're going to stay that way, we have to move around the city, and we have to do it efficiently, reliably, safely, and in a financially viable way. And we're going to have to talk going forward about how, as we build the system out and out and out, as we must do as the city grows, how we're going to pay for it.
So there's lots of great things in here for the TTC. People get around on bicycles. Would just like to ask you, and I know what, but what can people maybe commute in their car or just otherwise stuck in their vehicle? What can they take from an announcement?
The first thing I think we have to do to entice people out of their cars is have a reliable transit system. And I think that there have been issues that have been related to the choices that have been made not to fund state of good repair in the past that have perhaps had some impact on the reliability of the system. And I think these investments that we're going to make with the federal government's announcement today will allow us to be able to say to people, this is a safer, more accessible, more reliable system. And I think that is very, very important. And then we move in phase 2, in consultation with the other two governments, to the expansion of the system, so that people can have more transit options in more parts of the city. I would say the first part of all of this, by the way, and I think this is forgotten about, was an investment that was made by my administration since I took office, under my direction, working with Josh Cole, of $135 million in public transit and restoring and improving TTC services in the last 2 years alone. And so we're going to have to keep working at it. It is a continuous project after decades of neglect. But I'm confident with the partners that we have here today, federally, provincially, and with the TTC, that we are going to get the job done, and that people will look at the end of the 4 years, the first 4 years here, and say things are better, and they're on the way to being much better, thanks to the partnership between these three governments.
A question for Minister Morneau. You're heading to China soon with the Prime Minister. How do you sell Canada as a safe place to invest when BC just slapped a 15% tax on foreign buyers?
Well, our agenda, clearly, in going to China and in representing Canada at the G20, is to talk to people around the world